We've got a question from Samantha on handling foals. So this is going to be a really cool little conversation here, and I'm going to do it in video format to give you guys as much detail as I can so I don't have to basically write you guys a novel and take up a bunch of time. But Samantha sent us a question. She watched one of our most popular YouTube videos, which kind of got her to us, which was our yearling handling video, where I had a yearling come in that was unhandled. She was loose we had to back the trailer to the round pen. I had to rope her to catch her, get her caught with the halter, and start on the basic groundwork so we could get her into the barn. Because of the facilities at the time, we couldn't leave her in the round pen. And so it was basically the first touches, all those types of things. It was a really good video. You guys can find it on our YouTube channel. It's an hour long. It's the whole session. I talk my way through it. A lot of valuable content in there, a lot of good moments and learning moments in there. But she saw that video, so she sent us this question. It says, I just had my first foal hit the ground about a month ago. He's really friendly, and we've been showing him the halter and the rope. The one time I got the halter on him, he was laying down, and I just slipped it on real quick. I did take it off because I didn't want him to get caught in it. However, now it's kind of a struggle to get anything over his nose. Mom is very protective. The question is, I was wondering, when do you normally start putting the halter on? Is there anything different you would do for a horse this young? And so with a horse this young, to answer that second question, the only thing I might do differently with a horse this young versus an older horse is the sessions probably are just a little bit shorter. These horses, the little baby horses, I mean, their attention span's short. So I want to be able to get in and make it a good experience. I want to build on that young horse's curiosity as much as I can, because ultimately they're packed full of it. They're exploring the world, and they're excited for life every day and what they get to go find. You'll find them chasing butterflies and eating dirt clods and all those types of things. And so I want to build on that curiosity. And I don't want to create resentment with these young horses. You don't want to do so much that they just kind of shut down. They get glazed over. They get upset. They start to kind of retaliate a little bit. They start to give us unwanted behaviors because we've just gone past their comfortability on just being young horses. Like they need to learn things as they go, but they also need to have recess. And they're horses, they're not people, but kind of look at young kids. Like you want to kind of train them without them knowing that they're being trained, right? We want to teach the young kids how to do fractions, but they get to bake a cake in the process, something like that, right? And so would I do anything differently with these young horses is I would just keep those sessions a little bit shorter, multiple times a day. You know, maybe it's twice a day because you go take the mare outside, or like whatever your system is, at least twice a day, short sessions. But more frequently, the more opportunities you have to interact and build that young horse's curiosity. And then I want to track to one of the sentences in here, Samantha, because I think this is really important. And you say, and this is the quote, however, now it's kind of a struggle to get anything over his nose. That was now it's kind of a struggle to get anything over his nose is a reference to happening after you put the halter on, when he was laying down initially. And I want to point this out because that insinuates that there wouldn't have been a struggle had you not put the halter on when he was laying down. And that's simply not true, okay? You're not experiencing a struggle now because you put the halter on when he was laying down. If you were to ask me, would I have put that halter on when he was laying down? I would tell you, no, I wouldn't have done that. Is it a big deal? No, it's not. It's okay. But it's an experience that happened and it's over. I'm assuming you didn't just pin the horse down and slip the halter on him, right? He was probably just laid down napping and you went in there and made friends with him for a second and slipped it on him. That's my assumption. I could be wrong. But based on the context of your question and you're trying to learn, I don't believe that you pinned him down, right? So the idea that now it's a struggle because you put the halter on when he was laying down, that insinuates that you're going to have a trouble after, and that's simply not the case. Think about these young little horses. They have these little whiskers, and they're like little data receivers. And so they're sometimes on sensory overload because they're taking in all these senses, all these new things. And the best way to build confidence in these young horses, to get them good about getting caught and to get them better about being haltered and all those types of things, is to build on that curiosity and to build that relationship with them and showing them that, like, hey, I'm not here to hurt you. Yeah, there might be a few things that we do that you're a little unsure about, but I'm here to help you understand those things. And we need to build enough depth in that relationship for them to want to stick with us. Now, that's going to get a bit more into the weeds, but the way I would go about doing that is realizing, you say, we've started showing him the halter and the rope. Listen, this little horse doesn't know that halters and ropes aren't normal, right? As far as he's concerned, he's a horse, and that halter and rope could just be part of, I mean, he's praying into the world. We're making first impressions. He has no idea that that's not normal. In fact, halters and lead ropes are normal because we have to manage them. They're a normal part of everyday life. So, he wasn't born with it attached to him necessarily, but just realize that going to show it to him kind of raises concern. You're like, oh, I want to make sure you're okay with this. Here's this halter and the rope. I want you to make sure you're okay with it. You don't need to show it to him. Just let it be a part of the situation. Just like when you don't go show him your arm, right? Because your arm is part of you. So everything, all part of your body just goes and you're part of the equation. And so when you take that halter and rope, a lot of times I'll just drape it over the crook of my elbow or drape it over my shoulder. And I may not be going out there with any intention to catch the young horse, but I just have it with me. And I might start rubbing them on the withers or something like that. And then they reach up and they start playing with it. And I might take it down and just have it there with me. And I'm just judging where their threshold. Are they like, some horses just don't care about it. And you can rub them down with that halter. You can run it over their ears. Other horses are extremely sensitive. And they're going to look at that and they're going to go, oh, what's that? Right? They're going to kind of look at it and you say, you kind of retreat that. They show you a little bit of concern. You see the concern and you retract you retract whatever's creating the pressure. It could be you, right? It could be we got too close to the horse and the horse goes, oh, what are you doing? Why are you so close? And you just take that little half step back. And then the horse goes, okay, I recognize that you recognize that I was unsure about that. And then now you're communicating. So you can use that halter, but you don't need to go show scary objects to horses because you just a lot of times we create concern where there doesn't need to be concern or where there was never concern to begin with. With putting the halter on these young horses, we got to figure their little muzzle has all those whiskers. They're taking a lot of data. So what do I really need to work on with those young horses to get them better about being haltered is we want to get them comfortable with we want to get them good about having things handled behind their ears. When I put a halter on a horse, I like to take my hand on the other side of their neck, pull that halter up over their nose, and then if I have a rope halter, tie it over or clip the buckle. I don't like to slip the halter on over their ears and crank their ears back. Just not my preference. And honestly, sometimes you can create habits with horses not being okay with their ears being handled. So I do prefer, ideally, to where I can just be able to, eventually I can rub that horse all over his neck. I can rub them all over their neck. I can reach over, I can rub them on the other side of their face. I can rub them on their nose. And I want to be able to take my hands and go through all the motions with my hands without that halter even being part of the equation to where I could simulate and rub them all over and get them comfortable with me being around them and them feeling the physical pressure of where that halter is going to be. And then again, that halter is kind of just attached to me. It just comes it's part of me. And it's just they're part of the equation. And I'll bring that with me. And then over a period of time, I would get to where I can just rub them with that halter and all those types of things. Now, let's be realistic in your situation. I've done this in the past, and everybody's going to agree with it, but we have safe paddocks where we're at, and we make sure the stalls are super safe. And so I tend to initially early on when I put a halter on a young horse, sometimes I'll leave that on them, okay? And I'll leave it on them initially because it's a lot easier once I can just let them wear that halter and they can get used to the feel of it and they'll kind of roll their head and have fun and like make it jingle if there's a little buckle clip on the bottom or whatever is there. I don't leave drag ropes on my horses, but I sometimes will leave a halter on and I just let them wear it. Just let them wear it. Kind of like it's later on, it's going to be a head stall. They're going to wear that head stall with a snaffle on it later. So I just let them wear it. And maybe they wear it for a day or two. Maybe I just take it off at night. Because sometimes getting them caught getting that halter on can be the most difficult part. So I might just let them wear the halter for a little while. That way when I go to catch them, I can just clip to the halter, and I can start handling them a little bit and build their confidence that way. And then later, after like a week, I can take that halter off and not have any trouble with getting the halter back on them. because it's more of a mental concept of them being comfortable, confident, and curious enough to be haltered. And we're dealing with their head, where the brain center is. They need to be protective about what happens around their head, because if their head gets injured, they die, right? A lot of times with the Mustangs, they're most protective about their hind end, which tends to be the engine, which tends to be the motor, and they're more protective about their head because that's like the central operating system. And so that's very understandable. So sometimes with these young horses, Samantha, you might go through, make it a good experience, but you might, and this is if you have a scenario where the paddocks are safe enough, the stalls are safe enough to where you can leave that halter on for a little bit. That way you can just go in there, hook up to them, and then just mess around. I say play with them, but handle and rub them. You kind of teach them some basic groundwork, get them to where they yield their hindquarters and they move their shoulders over a little bit. You're just you're doing horsey body language, asking them to move just like the mare would ask that horse to move around, and also introducing them to yielding to a physical contact on that halter to where they start to understand how to keep the slack in the lead rope. That's very, very, very important. And we've actually got some videos coming out really soon on our video library that launches maybe in a week or two. We're so close with that. And you guys can get more info. We'll tell you guys about that. That's not what this video is about. But we have a whole weanling handling series when we do a lot of halter breaking with our young horses. And so we can show you those processes. But with the particular horse we use, we've got a halter on him just by building his curiosity, and we let him wear it for a couple of days, and then we go out and start messing with him as far as teaching him how to yield to that halter. But when it comes to how would I normally start putting the halter on, I'm getting him comfortable around his face. I'm being able to touch them and getting comfortable with that, and just letting that halter be part of the situation. And then I just don't put the halter on really until the horse is ready. I look at this, probably the most important piece of this is, when do I put the halter on? When the horse is ready to have the halter put on. If I notice that there's too much concern and I try to get it done, and there's one thing, if you're in a situation where you have to get a halter on, you got to get a halter on them. But if you're able to take the time to get it done, which it sounds like you are, then take the time it takes. Put in those multiple sessions a day, at least 1 or 2 at the very minimum, and build on that. And then there'll be a point where that horse is just standing there nice and quiet, and you're like, you know what? If I put this halter on right now, there wouldn't be any trouble. And that's when you put the halter on, right? And then you don't make a fuss about it because you've done the preparation to it. This isn't about getting the halter on, it's about preparing the horse to be haltered. And that's the really key piece. So with that being said, Samantha, I hope this helps you. I'm going to splice this video together real quick because my phone tried to die in the middle of this. But nonetheless, thanks for sending your question in. And anybody that has questions, feel free to put them in the comments below this video, or you can just put them in the group, and I'm going to be doing some video answers. That way we can get a little more in depth and I can give you guys some really specific points on these. So anyway, guys, have a great day.